You know the Magna culture, right? Nobody works for me. You people work with me. I'm working for you. The history of mankind has always been dominated by the golden rule. Here's the gold makes the rule. But I don't want to be dominated by anyone. If I feel that strong, I should not be able to dominate somebody either.
Are Canadian living standards deteriorating? Hi, my name is Jürgen Habel. I'm an Ontario lawyer and also an executive director at CEC, the Canadian Economic Charter. Last week, the governor of the Bank of Canada made a statement of sorts saying that us Canadians can expect to have now, in the face of US trade policy, a lower standard of living. Oddly enough, us Canadians, we were always having the highest standard of living, or among nations with one of the highest standard of living. 2 years ago, I came across an article written by Mr. Frank Stronach. Mr. Stronach is one of Canada's most successful businessmen, and he already was writing about our deteriorating living standards. Welcome, Mr. Stronach.
Okay, great to be here with you, Jürgen, and most of all, I'm very delighted that you accepted to be on the board of the Economic Charter of Rights, right? Basically, what does that mean, really, the Economic Charter of Rights? Basically, I'm saying the human Charter of Rights alone is not sufficient. We should fortify it with an economic charter of rights. Economic charters of rights will lead to economic democracies, and economic democracies are the basis for democracy itself.
Yes.
But let me put it in a more practical way, because basically it's a grassroots movement. In practical terms, it means you want to simplify things. And the simplification of it is all politicians agree, like all conservatives, liberals, NDP, and business people, very seldom that they agree on a subject. The subject is, if the economy doesn't function, nothing else will function. If the economy doesn't function, you cannot feed the hungry, you cannot look after the most fragile people, the elderly, the sick, and the handicapped. But we do not talk what drives the economy, the most important subject.
Yeah.
The economy is driven by three forces: smart managers, hardworking employees, and investors. The message I want to get across loud and clear is, without workers, we can't make a profit. So that is the message. We gotta let workers participate in making and sharing profits.
And this, you're giving us Canadians hope that we can save the economy for our generation and generations to come. One of your principles is to unleash small businesses under 300 employees. Your plan is to eliminate tax for small business such that small business can thrive. Tell us a little bit more why you believe this.
Yes, that's a very, I've always said, small business has always been the backbone of Canada, right, or the economy. So, and the very key is, I'm not preaching to take away from the rich. I'm preaching we must let workers participate in baking the economic pie, and everybody will get a bigger slice. But going back on the question on the statement of small business has always been the backbone of Canada. So we got to make sure that small business can operate freely. Right now, small business is practically put in chains and red tape, right? So we gotta make sure. Basically, I like to remind or a wake-up call to small business. If you band together, you have a political cloud, a huge cloud. Okay, and you really, small business, you got the future of Canada in your hands. if you love your kids, you know, and most parents love their kids, and maybe kids is first, and number two is the country. But if you love your kids and the country, we gotta think about it. We gotta do things. We gotta do things to make sure Canada gets on a sound economic footing. And I have laid down call it the Economic Charter of Rights. It's based on 7 principles. It's based on 7 principles. This is, call it the short version of the Economic Charter. And of course, there's the book. And the book goes into detail how we can improve the economy.
It's very interesting. You're going back to organizing small business such that they can be somewhat influential on government policy. This idea you've gotten from Sir Winston Churchill. Can you tell us a little bit more what you learned from Sir Winston Churchill?
Well, sometimes it's good. You got to look back in history, right? Who does things right? Who makes a better product? Who has a better idea for society or societies themselves? So, to me, when I look back in history, I think Churchill stood out as a politician. I consider him more of a statesman, right? And Winston Churchill said in his later years, right, because sometimes it takes time till we accumulate knowledge, what works, what doesn't work, right? But in his later years, he said, Parliament doesn't work. For the simple reason there's only politicians in Parliament, he said. And he said, the mandate of a politician is to be elected or re-elected. And that means the country is managed by political reasons, and the country should be managed by socioeconomic reasons, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he says, in order for Parliament to work, we need a chamber of citizens to balance out the politicians. But that'd be very cumbersome. I think the right way to do it is, I can see small business in Canada could be the chamber of citizens. Because if small business does well, the whole country will do well.
Very interesting. Something that you allude to, and it's one of the key principles, is the right to healthy food.
The right to healthy food, yes, I think...
and it's something that's very poignant to me, because I was involved with the Brampton Flower City Centennial Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club would feed children in Brampton breakfast. Yes. And I find this highly enlightening that you're suggesting that the right to healthy food for children should be an economic right entrenched in our Constitution.
Yes.
And good organic food.
Yeah. So basically, that's point 7 in our charter,
yes.
right? Okay. And that's very dear to my heart. Basically, I'm saying no Canadian kid should go to school hungry. That means breakfast got to be served. No Canadian kid should leave the school hungry. That means lunch has got to be served. And by law, it would have to be organic. And that would create another problem now, because we got to realize family farms are practically on welfare. Kids of family farmers say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to be in the farming. I don't want to be on welfare. And that's a shame, for the simple reason to grow food should be the most noble things to do. We need a huge marketing program that young kids flow back to farming. But why does farming have a problem, right? The problem is we got to realize 95% of the food eaten in North America, that includes the United States and Canada, comes from industrial farms. In industrial farms, we see no more eagles fly. Why? There's no more rabbits. There's no more pheasants. We spray so much fungicide and pesticides, we practically kill everything. I think the present older generation is grossly negligent, because our kids are basically quite sick.
Yes.
All the kids have allergies. Stage 2 diabetics is strongly on the rise, so we gotta make sure. So this, and I said it creates a problem, but we need we got to support the family farms. And I'm very much against government funding or grants or whatever, right? But it isn't a funding, it's not a subsidy. But if family farms grow organic food, they should get a subsidy. So again, I want to stress, I don't see it as a subsidy, because by doing that, we could save billions of medical costs.
Yes,
Okay,
it's proactive.
so it's an absolute necessity that we do that. And I also want to point out, a country which could feed its people never had a problem. In Canada, never had a problem. When the family farms were in operation, they could feed the country.
Yeah.
But with the industrial farms, it's not possible.
It's very interesting. This is part and parcel of why we say Canada's standard of living is deteriorating.
There's another reason for that, right? A farmer cannot produce foods if he hasn't got the seed.
Yes.
Okay?
Very
So
important.
weird thing. If he's got the seed, he cannot grow food. And a country cannot make products unless they have skilled labor. And when we took a look now in Canada, let's say for the last 20 years, when you saw a new building going up, it wasn't a factory where we make things, it was a warehouse.
Yeah.
So basically, Canada became a nation of warehouse operators. A country, that should be noted, a country which imports more and more and exports less and less, the living standards will deteriorate. In Canada, the living standards gone back about 50% over the last 50 years. That should be a wake-up call. Imagine that, right? So, look, 50 years ago, working couple could buy a small house for $50,000. Now, even a house like that will cost $1 million, $1.5 million, right?
Yes.
So it's the living standards have so deteriorated because we import so much.
Mr. Stronach, thank you very much. The 7 key principles of an economic charter, what are they that we're propounding? Balance the budget and eliminate debt. 2, reduce government's overhead, cut the red tape. 3, simplify the tax system. 4, unchain small business. 5, share profits with employees. 6, provide skilled trades, training and apprenticeships, particularly those in grade 11 and 12. To give the children a right to have some skills that they have moving forward in life. And 7, as we talked about, the right to healthy food for young children. This kind of economic charter would make our tax system fairer and simple, would boost the incomes of millions of Canadians through profit sharing. It will unshackle small business to create millions of new jobs that are needed today. It'll put the brakes on out-of-control government spending while slashing red tape. It will improve the nutrition of Canadian children. Most importantly, it will give young Canadians the opportunity to learn technical skills and pursue good-paying careers. It's all about the economy. The economy, the economy, the economy. If the economy doesn't function, we don't function. And we deserve as Canadians to get back on track and have a high standard of living. To learn more about our economic charter, look at economiccharter.ca and follow us here with other videos. Thank you.